everyone, and welcome to another Comic Book Collectors commenting on coin connoisseurs' connections to cold currency and conspiracy theories. Uncle Gary started collecting stamps and license plates last week episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Grimm.
How are you, sir?
Oh, not bad. Surprise snow, you know?
Fucking stupid. Fucking hate the weather. I hate Indiana. The moment we can move this podcast south, we need to do so.
Tried to get you to let us move it into a tank, but...
That's true. What was that tank going for?
Like 40 grand?
40K. And it was down in Nashville.
Yeah.
We could have moved to Nashville, bought the tank, and done the podcast out of Nashville out of a tank.
Would have been lit.
Warmer weather, and you can defend yourself at all costs.
Yeah,
also, can I ask you to do me a favor?
Yeah.
Hit him with that intro, please.
Joining us this week in the Days Grimm studio is Brandon Shell. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Mr. Shell. Good evening, sir. You're doing okay?
Been fine. How you guys doing?
Doing okay. Be doing a lot better as soon as it warms up. Not super pumped about the cold weather. So last week, I don't mind being out in it, but like as of recent, a buddy of mine who lives in Texas, we agreed to do a 30-mile race, which is technically an ultra, in Washington, D.C., right?
Were you driving?
No, I'm a big runner. I like running. But during the cold months, I usually lift and then run in the gym or whatever. But I want to train on the road as much as possible. Thus, I'm running in this shitty-ass weather. It's terrible. It fucking pisses me. There's nothing that upsets me more than running in cold.
You're ex-military. I would think you'd be awesome at running.
Cold, wind, snow, cold rain,
I eat
sleet.
that stuff up.
I
It's
hate
like Rocky.
that shit.
Like Rocky when he was training to fight.
Yeah.
How's your ankle?
Yeah, solid. So my buddy who does ultras often, I explained to him, sent him pictures, everything that happened. I was down 48 hours, just rested it, iced it, put compression tape on it, and elevated it. And over the course of 48 hours, I was good to go. So after I spoke with him and told him all my symptoms and stuff, he was like, yeah, the swelling's gone. And I was like, yeah, swelling's gone, pain's gone. I think I'm good to run. He was like, yeah, it sounds like you had tendinosis, which I haven't even yet Googled what tendinosis is, but it sounds like some sort of inflammation of a tendon. Not tendinitis, but like tendinosis.
So based on the intro that Brian gave, our listeners kind of got a hint of what you do.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
you want to give us like a brief elevator pitch of like who you are and what all you collect?
Yeah, who are you and what do you do? What are we going to talk about today?
I collect just about everything, honestly, but I've kind of narrowed it down because I'm not wealthy. To comic books and coins. I inherited some coins from my grandpa a long time ago, and that kind of started that whole coin.
From your grandfather?
My grandfather, yeah.
And so...
Was he into coin collecting?
Oh, he loved it. I mean, he spent a lot of time and money doing it. He traveled. He worked for a company that worked on machines the size of this house, and he would travel from location to location working on these machines. And when he was in a new location, he would always check out what was available in that area.
Yeah, right.
And so he had quite a collection.
My question is, so I'm only assuming that you're pretty close to my father's age. Close, relatively.
I'm close to your father's age?
Close, relatively.
I was thinking we were the same age, man.
Oh, God, dude, do I look that fucking
You didn't take your hat
horrible?
off yet, you know?
Yeah, I'm actually fucking bald.
Dude, I'm mid 50s.
Okay, so you are close to my dad's actually 60, but either way.
So you thought I was old.
Oh, well, I was actually thinking you were young. I don't know. I'm not good at. This is going very poorly. I'm not doing very good at complimenting this man today at all.
I remember ever since I was little, you collected comic books. You even had like a book about like what each comic valued as when they would mail that out as like a catalog before there was like the big online.
Yeah, and I wasn't actively probably collecting books when you came over to the house or saw them for the first time. That was just my current collection that had kind of grown stale. I kind of transitioned into coin collecting. I've gone back and forth over the years. While I was coin collecting in another city, I stumbled upon some old Silver Age Amazing Spider-Man books that once I saw them, I just fell in love with it again. I mean, there's just something special when you're a comic book collector about old Silver Age books and Golden Age, I guess for some, but that's even older.
What's the difference in the ages, silver versus gold?
So I may be wrong about the years here, but Golden Age was the 30s, 40s, and maybe even up into the 50s. And 60s was the start of the Silver Age. So that's where they determine the difference in the.
So
the
what
Bronze
age? What age are we in now currently? If
this is, I think they just consider it the current age.
Oh, okay.
Because we went through a Bronze Age as well. Honestly, it's a good question. I don't know what they're calling the.
That's interesting because they're always coming up with like a new generation.
Yeah, 20 years from now there'll be a name for this one.
Yeah, it'll be like fucking trash age.
I feel like
Maybe, yeah.
I feel like
overproduced age.
Yeah,
I feel like comic books or like any collectible item is almost like a stock. Like it's like a dividend. Like you buy it at a lower price and it's going to increase in value, hopefully over time.
Can I ask what I was going to ask earlier before you cut me off when we were talking about his grandfather?
Yeah.
So I was just guessing your age, right? So that if you're mid 50s, that means you were born in late 60s, early 70s, and then that means your dad would have been roughly born in. I'm just trying to figure out when your grandpa was born, essentially. Do you remember when roughly he was born?
Well,
early 1900.
Yeah, so he died in oh boy.
I'm just trying to get a gauge for like what era he was in, and then what he handed off. You know what I mean? If you had to guess, was he 1910, 1920s?
Let's see. If I thought about it, I've already had a few drinks of.
Yeah, dude, that scotch. That scotch will come up and grab you.
So he would have been. Wow, you know what? I'm not even sure. He would have been born in the early 1900s, obviously.
Okay.
Because my parents were born in the late 40s, so I'm thinking the late 20s is probably when he was born.
Yeah, they were having him young then, so I think that's accurate. 1920s, and man, to have some of the shit that he had.
Gosh, I feel bad about not knowing that, because he was very special to me.
No, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're good. You're good.
What's like the oldest thing that he gave that you?
Oh gosh, 1800s. I've got some 1800s coins that came from.
Damn, that's fucking Civil War shit.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and it's really cool to think about that. And when you really look at them and you think about that, like God, people that touch these coins, man.
They had slaves.
Oh yeah.
Or they flew in hot air balloons in the Civil War.
He did.
Did you know they used hot air balloons in the Civil War?
I didn't. Although I do recall maybe what did they do? Drop bombs on people?
No, it was reconnaissance.
Strictly reconnaissance.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not like you couldn't see them coming.
Right.
Yeah,
we made jokes about
that.
They were like first invented in like what late 1700s, like 1780.
No, it was earlier than that. It was like 16, wasn't it?
I think it was in the 1700s.
Well, yeah.
But like, could you imagine like the Crusades going on, and then all of a sudden you see this hot air balloon come up?
Well, here comes another idiot.
I think I made a joke about like because it was like a French guy or something that first did it, and I made a joke about him being in fucking like chainmail, like you know what I mean?
Right,
yeah,
like hot air balloon dog fights
with muskets.
You couldn't get up very high. This chainmail's weighing me back down. Take off your helmet.
It was so much fun, dude. But yeah, we learned that we learned together as a team with Janice Barniak that hot air balloons are old as fuck and they're still killing people.
Before we roll into this a little bit, do you have like I already know the answer, but do you have like a diehard like superhero that you like, or
Spider-Man's my man. I mean,
right.
So when I started, so the first book I ever purchased was off the rack at Readmore Bookstore in North Park. It's been long gone when you were born.
Oh yeah.
But there was a Readmore Bookstore, and I bought it right off the shelf. I still have it to this day. The Juggernaut was on it, and it was like number 230. Maybe.
DC. Right?
No, Marvel.
Yeah,
I'm a big Marvel fan. I don't have a lot of DC stuff.
Other than Blue Beetle. You spoke highly of Blue Beetle.
Yeah. When that movie came out, I was really excited about it, although they really copied in my opinion, the Spider-Man storyline with the young kid getting this responsibility in this suit. But No, Spider-Man was my guy because I was that age. You know, I was the right age when I started reading.
You
that.
were Peter Parker, dude.
Yeah, how many spiders did you
wanted to
let bite
be.
you?
Right?
How many Black Widows did you dance with the devil with? You know what I mean? Okay, so that being said, speaking of dancing with the devil, we like to do this this little treat. Before we really dive into who you are, what you do, we do this thing called the Death of the Week. Are you familiar?
I am.
It's unfortunate.
Absolutely.
I don't know what else to say about it. And am I a proud man? No. But are these sometimes absolutely hysterical?
They sure can be.
Fucking yes. Now, this week is a special edition because I have nor selected this Death of the Week or read it. So we're going
Well, it's a surprise to you too, huh?
Yeah, you and I are hearing this for the first time.
Bring it on.
And I picked the best ones.
Tom, if you would be oh so kind.
The death of the
This week's Death of the Week, guys, brought to you by thedaysgrimm.com. Dude, it's $20, man. Just hop on there, get you a t-shirt. It's literally 26 for our best t-shirt, 17 for our lower t-shirt. There's a beanie on there. There's a super dope coffee mug that you've seen in the studio. They're super nice. Drew loves his canteen. Stop in there, buy something. Help us keep the lights on.
The t-shirts make you look thin, by the way.
Yeah, they do, man. They do, for real. Thank you. So, moving forward, this week's Death of the Week, guys, buckle up. San Diego Comic-Con rocked by tragic death.
Oh, dear God.
Twilight fan struck and killed by car outside convention center. This was written July 10, 2012 at 7:53 p.m. by Ethan Sachs. And this is per nydailynews.com. Here we go. A Twilight fan was struck and killed by a car in front of a horrified crowd of fellow Twihards. Jesus. Fuck.
Which team were they? Don't they have different teams?
Yeah, they don't know if they were Edward or whatever.
I've never
the other guy
heard
is.
that. I've never heard this. Okay, so anyways. Horrified crowd of fellow Twihards camping out 2 days ahead of the opening of San Diego Comic-Con. The 53-year-old woman was running across a busy crosswalk against the light at 9:20 a.m. She was racing to return to her group on a line organizers were moving when she was hit, the San Diego Union Tribune reported. A police spokesperson told the newspaper that the woman, identified as I think I butchered that last name.
I think you did well.
Of Kingston, New York, had tried to stop herself before she stumbled and fell into the side of a Subaru Outback. Was unconscious and bleeding from the head when an ambulance arrived. She was later pronounced dead at an area hospital. Quote, if you pray... I fucking hate people that do this. PLS. Quote, if you pray, PLS, do so now for Twi-Fan G. She was hit by a car in front of the convention center. She was unconscious when taken to the hosp.
Clearly a tweet.
One fan, again, that tweet, yeah, it was a tweet. It was a tweet by @RobChris13. Christ. Fellow Twihards mourned the death on Twitter with the hashtag IPTwiFanG.
What does that even mean?
I don't know, and have started an online petition to have a moment of silence before Thursday's panel for, quote, the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2. Oh, sorry, that was the name of the film. Yeah, it goes on to say the Outback's driver was an unidentified 67-year-old San Diego man. He was questioned by police but not charged. Quote, it is with tremendous sadness that we offer our heartfelt condolences, end quote. San Diego Comic-Con spokesman David Glanzer said in a statement, quote, our sincere thoughts and prayers. That's the status quo. Thoughts and prayers go out to all of those involved in this tragic incident, end quote. Thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers. What was his name? Scroll back up. Where's this fucking twat's name? Where's this fucking guy's name? Glanzer, thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers. It really matters the most.
But she'd been camping out with a group of twihards for 2 days. But the funny part is so I went through like 2 other articles that
I
say
know what
they
the funny
essentially
part
the same.
is. Tell me what the funny
So the
part
car
is.
was going and like slammed on its brakes at a red light, and she tried to like stop herself so she didn't get hit by the car, and she tripped and fell and hit the side of the car.
Oh.
She hit the car didn't hit her.
Correct.
Oh, okay. And also, you know what the funniest part is? It's a fucking Subaru.
Right.
You know,
Safest car out there.
You know
other
who
than like
drives
a
a
Tesla.
fucking Subaru? Exactly. It's the fucking
An
it's
unidentified 67-year-old apparently.
from San Diego. I would be unidentified as well, dude. I'd be like, do not fucking associate me with that Twihart G-fan.
I did it on purpose.
Dude. Okay. So, there's a lot to unpack here, but in general, I think we can all agree. How old was Miss G?
53 years old.
Miss G was 53 years old. I think we can all agree that the athleticism of a 53-year-old woman.
Easy.
I said woman. Slow down. Are you associating yourself with 53-year-old women?
Apparently.
No, I think we can all agree that the athleticism of a 53-year-old woman named Miss G, not up to snuff in this situation.
Yeah, and just like you said on what side she was, you know they got a term now that like those chicks that are into vampires like crazy is called fang banger.
That's good, dude. What?
I don't
No.
know if she
Makes you run around,
identified
get
as a
those
fang
plastic
banger.
fangs, doesn't it?
Right.
No, people are doing their real teeth that way.
Yeah, they're getting their canines.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Do you know this?
Yeah, I have seen
Now,
that.
do you also
Filing your
know,
teeth, yeah.
speaking of teeth, and this one really fucked me up, and I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast or not, people are tattooing their gums. Have you seen that?
Yeah, but they fade after a while.
Have you seen that?
If you get the inside of your lip, it only
kind of
lasts
beside the
like
point,
6
though.
months.
No, they're doing like their gums.
Right, yeah.
So it's like their gums below
still-
their teeth are
What?
black.
It still fades.
Yeah,
crazy
after a while,
fast.
I guess
It's not like
you
a
would think,
regular
you would
tat.
think.
It
What's
probably-
that do to your system?
Cancer?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That ink is probably cancerous, I would assume. I don't know. Maybe not.
It's all cancer.
Yeah.
Everything we consume nowadays.
Speaking of, let me just tap this bourbon real quick. I don't know, man. I think Miss, all jokes aside, I joked about Glazer and his thoughts and prayers bullshit. I hate it when people say that. Don't pretend to know what someone's going through. How about that? How about just stay the fuck silent for a minute?
I mean, that's
Shut
what they
up.
were trying to
Just shut the
arrange.
fuck up. Don't give me your thoughts and prayer. Like if I own a convention center and like something like this were to happen, I'm not doing thoughts and prayers. I'm going to say, hey, yeah, if you want me to make a statement, I'll make a statement. And I will come out to the microphone and stand there for however long you require me to stand there and not say anything. Because there's no way you can fucking pretend to know. You know what I mean? Fucking thoughts and prayers. That shit drives me up the wall. Shit drives me up the wall, dude.
Tell us how you really feel.
I know, dude. It pisses. You read it all the time. Am I wrong?
No, I mean,
Thoughts
you're
and
right.
prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
That's the go-to. That's
Thoughts
the
and
go-to.
prayers.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers. You don't give a fuck.
Well, that was this week's Death of the Week, brought to
Sorry.
you by
A little
Thedaysgrimm.com.
angsty about thoughts and prayers. Fucking Glazer. Fucking twat. All right.
That
That's
might be
this
a
week's
trigger
Death of the
point.
Week, dude. Okay. Yeah. I'm a little fucking triggered now. All right, dude. Okay. So, Mr. Show.
So,
How the fuck did you get it? Where do you come from? Let's start there. Where do you hail from, sir?
I am right here from Evansville, Indiana.
What side of town? Because it does matter. Let's talk about it.
North. I went to Central.
That's fair. It's better than East.
Yeah.
Better than Newburgh.
I grew up on Hanover Road.
Okay. So you're familiar with like Stringtown area? I got some
Absolutely,
family that's
yeah.
in the Stringtown
so
area.
coins is what you started collecting first because you inherited them.
Well, no, I mean, I saw my grandfather collecting them, and then so I did the same. I started
Like as a
with
kid?
cheap stuff. Oh yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
you were collecting even as a kid.
Well, he lived in Joliet. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what you consider actually collecting.
But you cared about him as a
But
kid.
I did. I thought they were cool. Coins were cool,
Yeah.
especially anything old.
Well, I remember when I was young, my grandparents, your in-laws, taught like we collected all the quarters of the different states, and we had like little books
Mhm.
for that. And now it's gone crazy. I feel like they've run out of, they ran out of states.
Oh,
so
they're
now
still doing it. Yeah. They went to state parks. I mean, they just keep changing. Now they're doing famous females. I mean, it's just a way for them to get I guess, more coins in people's homes. I mean,
Well, and like what's crazy is certain like pennies used to be more valuable than a penny.
Oh,
Still
yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah.
Really?
Still are.
well, I mean, it's in a certain sense. So anything pre 1984 and some 19. I'm sorry. Wow, 1982. Pre 1982 pennies are worth probably. I could look it up on my phone right now, but right about 2.5 cents.
Well, we
piece.
have an entire
Copper.
we have an entire Google machine in front. Would you like some more ice, sir? Are you doing okay over there?
No, yes, sir.
You
I
can
will.
dig your hand in there. I really don't care.
Dig.
Dig your hand.
you
A
don't mind,
pre 1982
grab me out
penny
another
is
club
worth
soda
about 2 cents for copper value.
Yeah,
up
2.5 cents for copper. So it's not legal yet to melt down pennies, but it soon will be. The same way that silver coinage finally was allowed. Which brings up another whole subject. But
So you're not allowed to melt down?
No, sir. Not-
Is that because that's damage of federal property?
you know, I've heard several different things.
What's the explanation?
They
Can
need
you-
pennies still.
Can
so
you
they don't
Google
want-
why you can't melt a penny down, or I wonder, can you burn a dollar?
I remember hearing all stories about you can go to
Why
prison
can't you
if
melt
you burn
down a
dollar.
penny? And you Google why you cannot melt down pennies.
I would say it's probably because
Pennies
they're
and
still being
nickels
used
contain
in
copper, zinc, and other metals that are of great monetary value. It is because of this that they're melting down that melting down these metals for the sole intention of selling to offshore or local metal scrapping industries is illegal. So it is literally the composition of the metal.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The same reason people steal gutters and wiring out of homes because there's copper in it. You know, copper is basically a precious metal. It's just probably one of the least precious
We
metals.
knew a guy. We had a guy on the podcast who fucking no, he didn't strip copper from the neighbor, Mike Farley. Remember, they were like running.
A lot of people do it though.
No,
I mean,
they were
like,
running. They were
construction
stealing their
sites get
neighbor's
broken
electric.
into.
That's what it was. They were
Yeah.
like, his
Also
dad
that-
was an electrician, so he broke into the trailer next to them, their electrical outlet box outside, and
Hooked right into it, huh?
hardwired their electric into their electric, so they were getting the bill for it.
Yeah.
It was really funny, but yeah, people do steal copper wire like often. It is very, very often. And shit's expensive, man.
Well, yeah, it is.
So I guess you could burn a dollar at that sense because that's just paper.
But like you mentioned earlier with coins, like it's cool because there's not only is there a history to the coin, but you think about like how many people touched it. Like, I mean, you get a dollar nowadays and you're like, how many assholes of strippers has this dollar been in?
Or how many people have snorted through it? I mean,
Right, that's $100 bills, but
Well, we talked about that on the podcast too. How bad of a day are you having if you're snorting coke through a $1 bill, dude?
Right.
How rough of a spot are you in? Just the image, it's too funny to not laugh at. I'm so sorry.
I wouldn't even be able to use a dollar. I'd be using a McDonald's straw.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, Hoover that fucker right in there. No, man, but that's cool. So you had this kind of like you were starting early, or at least you assigned value to coins very early, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were you into comic books at that same time already?
Probably.
So they came
you
about,
know-
but you weren't collecting comic books.
So when you walked into my grandpa's house, it was like walking into an antique store. I mean, he liked odd things.
was it like
Antique-
borderline hoarding though?
Well, downstairs, yes.
Okay.
Upstairs, my grandma kind of drew the line. You know, nothing's coming up here, Harry.
Yeah.
His name was Harry.
This is where we have company.
Yeah.
Fucking
so
chill out.
She did kind of rule the house in that respect. But downstairs, if you walk downstairs, dude, you had paths that you went through. And, I found myself in the same situation. I've got my basement full of.
you got a room about the size of this podcast full of boxes of comics.
Yes, that's true. And maybe. Yeah,
Maybe bigger.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate.
That's and that's a lot.
Well, and
that's a big space.
It is humidity controlled. I've got it set up here. I do a little bit more. Matter of fact, I just bought a camera I'm wanting to put in it today, just to monitor it. I mean, I've got some.
Are you trying to catch ghosts in there, like stealing your comic books, or what's going on?
Whoever, don't touch my shit, dude.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Dude, I have so many podcast callbacks now. But anyway, I'll leave that one alone.
But you still have your very first comic that you ever bought.
I do.
So
What
what was
was
that like over the years keeping safe? Because, like you bought it probably when you were like in your early teens, maybe.
But I already had an understanding of putting them in bag and boards and protecting them because my babysitter it's funny how your life, you can kind of attribute everything that you do to someone that you knew but my babysitter had an older son, Tony Stark is his name, who happens to be the same name almost as the Iron Man, who was a comic book collector.
Really?
And I really got started in comic books because of him. Super nice man. He wrote for Overstreet Price Guide. He was the first time I ever walked in his house. And I may be incorrect about this. You know, the young brain works strange, but when you walked in his home, his living room was lined with shelves and comic book boxes full of comic books.
Damn.
That was my first introduction to comic books.
You're like, oh shit.
I saw
people
him
are doing
that,
this. Yeah.
and I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Because I looked up to him. I don't think he realizes this or even knows this to this day, but he was instrumental in my comic book collecting start.
So at what point, like in your youth, so how old are you when you see that?
I was probably 6th grade.
6th grade. So is it in junior high at that point, or like pre-high school, or whatever I don't know, whatever about that age where you were like, okay, I'm going to start buying them, but also like taking care of them and protecting them?
I started protecting them from day one. Because
Really?
I knew that's what was supposedly done.
The
if you were going
standard.
to be a collector.
Well, and I don't know if you know this, Brian, but people send off comics to get graded to see like what they're worth, or like I mean, you could probably explain grading better, but then like also you just send a comic book off to get semi-restored.
Yes, I did. Hulk 181, which was the very first appearance of Wolverine, as a holy grail, so to speak.
What is the restoration process like on?
So you can get really, really deep, actually using liquids and saturating a book,
Like paint? Like they can retouch things?
Well, I guess
No, that's frowned upon. So the idea is, so look at that price, $10,995.
And you want to explain what this grade means at the top left?
Yeah, so a 9.2 is an incredibly high grade for that book. When you think of a book, let's see, I'm guessing, say 1974, it actually shows it right there. Which I knew it was the mid 70s, but I couldn't tell you exactly when. But that there is the absolute first appearance of hell. I say that
one of my
number
favorites.
180 is actually a splash page on the very, very last page that shows him.
Of Wolverine.
There's actually a controversy over which is it's the first appearance of this character, but that's a whole other story. And I have both of them, by the way. But this book here I got recently and had mold on the top of the book through the Hulk. There were 3 or 4 pretty nasty spots of mold in the white area of the word Hulk.
What did that take your grade to? Like when you purchased it, what grade was it at? Can you recall?
Well, I mean, there was no grade because it hadn't been professionally graded.
You have to send them off and get them
to
appraised.
get this grade.
It was a raw. It's what's considered raw. It was a raw book.
Okay. So if it's
So
not
I
graded,
put my
it's raw.
own grade on it, which I've done a little bit of research into grading, and it was probably around a 4 due to that mold.
Degradation. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did send it off, and I probably spent $400 or $500 having that mold removed, hoping that it would come back clean. But you just never know. Mold is a tricky bastard. It's hard to get off of a book, and I was not successful at getting it off. Every attempt made to try to get the mold off would actually strip some of the color from the book.
Mm.
So I did probably go from a 4 to a 5 grade. So the money that I spent on the book, I did better than what I spent on it.
Right.
Think about this for just don't leave this page. Think about this for just one moment while you have this pulled up. In 1974, for a quarter, which today would equate to roughly $1.50 or maybe $2, you could buy this comic.
Buddy.
You could buy this comic book with said $2 investment. You could then in turn make $10,993 on a fucking comic book.
On a 9.2. Look up a 9.8.
I mean, my God, like,
I mean, that you're not even touching the stratosphere yet.
I mean, my God, like,
Oh, right here. Look at the price of that.
Boom, baby. Now you know why I do it.
My God. I mean,
Are you kidding me? That's
But
awesome.
like this is the
that,
same
dude.
thing with like the Pokemon games that were, I'm bringing it to like my generation of like the games were $50 back in the day and now they're
Yeah.
selling for 200 10
Yeah.
years later. I mean, it's not this same value or anything like that, but
Yeah, it's a
Oh, but it's
a
equivalent.
steeple.
It's understandable.
it's a
I mean,
steeple in.
No, it's
in
not
meat.
understandable. It's crazy, but
That is preposterous.
yeah,
That
and that's that, dude.
that almost costs as much as the house that we're sitting in right now as we speak.
Absolutely. So I mean, yeah,
That
to
is
say,
fucking
hey,
bonkers.
I could go trade my Hulk 181 in on a Ferrari GT. I mean, or a Ford GT, which is my dream car, by the way.
Well, hold on.
Just do an even trade. I mean,
before you get too far into this, do you not have the capability to liquidate what you have for a Ford GT at this point? From what it sounds like.
well, yeah, I'm not going to say because that every swinging
yeah, they'll come
Tom and
after you.
Harry. But no, I can't say that. No, I have an inventory of probably 12,000 books now, and some of them are valuable, but nothing,
Anywhere close
absolutely
to that.
nothing in the $175,000 range.
So what would happen if someone just by happenstance you just like ran up on one of these? What are the
And it
odds?
happens.
What are the odds of that happening? Winning the lottery odds?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, you're always the big thing is books like this, especially. So this is what's considered a Bronze Age book. This is not even Silver Age. Books like these were not meant to be long lasting. They were made on paper that was acidic. They just don't last. So to find something in that condition.
And the ink they used back then was probably drastically different from what we use today.
Oh,
too.
I'm sure. I'm
So-
sure that.
when you break these out now, are you like wearing like do you wear gloves? Like
Absolutely.
do you
Even new books, I won't touch unless I say that. I make sure I've always washed my hands. But any book that I buy, even from my current guy that I buy books from, I will re-bag and board into a Mylar bag, which is archival acceptable. Is what
That is
museums store their
fucking
book
wild
paper
man.
products in.
That is fuck. I want to get back to back to the childhood part. So you're in junior high, rolling into high school. When do you start Which one?
The girls loved this, by the way. Oh yeah, I was a chick.
Oh no, they still don't love it. It hasn't gotten better. I just want to let you know. Everyone still thinks we're nerds. But that being said, rolling through high school and kind of your formative years, which do you take more seriously first? Coins and comic books is really what you're good at, but or what you pride yourself in collecting. But which one do you take serious first, coins or comic books?
So
as far as
that's a good
collecting,
question, and I've really over the years kind of bounced back and forth. But my true passion would have to be comic books. It really would.
Is that
even though coins would be monetarily probably a more valuable thing to really delve into. I'm just seriously passionate about comic books. I just absolutely love it.
So you started collecting comic books first, like actively, and like
I'd say that's accurate. Yes.
yeah. And then so how long does that go on until you run into like, oh shit, coins are fucking dope too?
Well, like I said, the coin thing actually happened first because I saw my grandpa doing it. I didn't get a chance to see my grandpa very often because they lived up in Chicago. But every time we'd visit, so I even palmed one of Grandpa's old coins.
Oh damn!
He knew about it. He found out about it pretty quickly because he knew what he had.
Yeah.
But he had a coin go missing, and I've since lost that coin, which breaks my heart. But I did actually steal a coin from my grandpa back when I was probably 8 or 9 years old.
Which brings up a good point. Do you keep inventory of do you have a spreadsheet
my
of
comic books are inventoried. It's much more difficult to inventory coins because, just for instance, I went by the silver shop today, and I buy what's known as constitutional silver. I don't know if you've got cameras on me or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is you.
I've got a roll of quarters here.
Mm-hmm.
These are just pre-1964 quarters. Dude, we could just talk for days about this shit.
Well, I have a really good mention on this, but go ahead and make your point.
So I am currently buying. So we were talking earlier about melting coins.
Yeah,
So
you can't.
People, no, you can silver.
Oh, okay.
Anything pre-1964 that is silver, which would be quarters and dimes. Some nickels have silver in them, but not all of them. Anything dimes and quarters pre-1964 are 94% silver. I'd have to look the number up right off the top of my head. I'm not remember. I don't
Right.
remember.
No, you're good.
But you can melt these down. So what people do is they bring these coins to a coin shop, and they will give you a percentage of spot. Obviously, they've got to turn around and sell them. So unless you're going to sell them online, you're not going to get top dollar for them. However, I like to go buy them because what I've got here is probably not probably, this is a $10 roll of quarters. This is about a $200 roll of silver. Companies are sending, I'm sorry, not companies, individual silver shops take these silver coins that people bring to them, silver jewelry, silver coins, anything silver.
Smelt them.
Absolutely. Melts it down.
Yeah.
20 years from now, these are even going to be more rare than they are today because they're melting them down. So I'm trying to put together as many freaking silver coins as I can get. I don't care what date they are. I don't, and you know, some dates are super, super rare.
I already know where you're going to.
Well, I was going to say metals melt at different temperatures. So like at my job, I work on metals all the time. And so you sweep all this scrap metal up, right? And it's all dust blended together, but you heat it up at different temperatures, and like your gold will melt out at a certain temperature. Your silver will melt out at a certain temperature. And so like, you know, if there's zinc in that and the silver, you heat it up at one temperature and your silver will come out, and you heat it up at another temperature and your zinc will come out to a different part. So you can
what do you
separate.
do? Go from like the coldest temperature to the hottest and separate your metals?
Essentially, yeah.
So I always wondered how that was done.
Yeah.
Have you ever read Cormac McCarthy's No Country for Old Men? Are you much of a reader?
Well, I've seen the movie.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking. You know what I'm going to reference. Okay, so you know what I'm about to reference.
And his wife reads a lot.
Yeah.
Does she? So maybe she's read No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, my wife's an expensive reader.
I will say that No Country for Old Men is the hardest book I've read in years, only because if you've read it, you're aware. I'm not going to get into that. But there is a scene that I wanted to bring to light, given that you're a coin guy, and you kind of touched on earlier, you never know who touched a coin, so on and so forth. There's a scene in the book and the movie where early in the movie, he's in the store and he's talking to the proprietor, and he says, "Call it." And he's got a quarter. He's got his quarter in his hand. He said, "Call it." And the guy behind the counter is like, well, what are we calling for? He's like, "Call it." And he just insists that he calls it. And then he, you know, whatever, so on and so forth, it goes on. He finally winds up calling heads, flips it, hits his palm, says, "It's your lucky day."
It's one that lives.
And then he gives him this quarter and he puts it on the counter. He said, "That's your lucky quarter. Take that with you forever." And then he makes a mention as the proprietor is grabbing the quarter and he's about to put it in his pocket. This crazy serial killer guy. You're familiar. You've seen the movie.
I have, but I don't remember this instance.
He's the dark-haired guy. His name is...
No. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, his name is Sugar in the movie, or Sugar, or Chigger, or something like that. But he's the crazy guy who kills people, and he's like very monotone. And the guy goes to put it in his pocket, and he's like, no. Don't put it in your pocket. It'll get confused with all the others. And he tells this story. He's like, that quarter has a story. It traveled all these years. It's in 1965. And he mentions the quarter, and he's like, think about where it's been. But it's a funny thought to think about. Like, the quarter you're touching, look at the year that it was made. How many people have touched it? Who's touched it? Think about where that quarter's been.
I've got coins from Jesus here. I've got coins that very, very possible that Jesus could have touched.
Yeah, like the coins that have like the punch outs, like the old Roman...
or even the Cherokee ones. You can go along the river and find old Cherokee coins.
No way. Oh, well, I bet. Yeah. I didn't know they had coins. But
yeah,
that makes
and it's
sense.
like a star chiseled out.
But yeah, in the Roman times, they had like coins that they
I
had
found
the square
that website that was selling old World War II memorabilia that had like old coins from that era.
Yeah. That's neat. I think coins are probably what I would spend my time on.
They're really cool.
Because I like countries
really
and places.
Cool. History.
I'm a bigger history guy. Comic books, it's so contemporary. It's only been around for
So
100 years.
let's chat about this.
Yeah,
the
backtrack.
crazy comic book collectors, right? And so, like, I mean, I'm sure you've came home and your wife's been like, "How much did you spend on this and why?" And she gets butthurt, right?
And then you tighten up immediately and you just don't answer.
You find a way to deflect. Deflect.
And it's
defer.
it's hard to tell them that like there's value in this. You know, it's like hard to explain.
Believe it or not, your aunt, Tommy, tell me how we're related. Are we cousins or what are we?
I'm your nephew.
Okay, thank you, man. I'm bad about that.
Well, and everybody in my family kind of like relates me as like son of my grandparents.
Well, it's like they don't. This family's got a serious issue with names, and all they want to call people is Tom.
They have multiple issues. Let's just be clear.
No, I love them to death.
No, well, Tom has most of the issues.
Is one of the most understanding people when it comes to. She has come home with hundreds of dollars of books for me, so she gets it. Maybe she didn't at first,
But it took some time to explain.
She gets it.
Finally,
she's just as crazy about this now as I am, which works out really great because otherwise it would be a really, really bad situation.
right.
And
But-
it's funny. Well, and you said she's an expensive reader, right?
Well, that's an inside joke.
It is, yeah.
Well, no, I was.
She signed up for a book program and they overcharged her for books.
No, she didn't. No. They're not overcharging her. They're charging her exactly what they intend to charge her. She's just gotten so into the story she can't stop. So I mean, I think I've spent maybe like $5,000 or $6,000 now on a book she's reading.
Have you talked to anybody that collects books or takes literature very serious, short of comic books, or maybe they're like a comic book and book collector?
Yeah, I can't.
Because there's an even just as crazy as comic book collecting. There is a equal crazy book collection.
There are first
community.
printings of books are insanely.
There's different
popular.
versions. There's different bounds. There's different texts. There's fonts and sizes. And
I
stuff.
didn't know about all that.
Well, and translation changes over time. Like if you get an old copy of like say the Bible, and then you get like a modern New King James Version, text is like completely different.
And the company that put the Bible out, it matters. They all have reputations. One is worth more than the other. And then like you get into like how it was bound. Is it leather bound? What's the grade of leather? Like I have a guy at work who's explaining to me, he's a big Bible guy actually. So he's a big Christian guy. And he talks about his multiple Bibles. He's got hundreds. And he was like explaining to me to all these different types and what they are and why they're worth so much money. And he said there was a Pope's Bible that he bought at a bookstore in New Harmony, and he got lucky. The Pope's book is like, it's fucking huge because the Pope has to read it, and he's old, he has bad eyes, but it's huge. But it's just so finely and intricately put together that it's worth like thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
he got it for like $800.
What language? I mean,
but there's this crazy, and he's not even
think Hebrew.
He's not even like. He's the tip of the iceberg. Like people get crazy over books in general.
Yeah,
like it's
you're
wild.
Absolutely right.
It's wild.
People get crazy over anything you want to bring up. We could probably bring up any topic, and someone's crazy.
Fucking
about
Beanie Babies, dude. Jesus, fuck. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I got a Princess Diana, baby.
That's still a thing. I think.
I got
Beanie Babies
Salvino
still have
Bammers.
value.
Got Troy Aikman. Dude, I don't know that there's really much of anything that I don't have something of in my basement. But you would shit if you knew.
Oh,
but
Jesus.
I mentioned bringing you on, and you mentioned this story about this guy that was collecting comics, and he probably spent more money than than his girlfriend thought was acceptable for this comic.
No, so I think I know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the girlfriend?
Girlfriend comic.
The angry girlfriend.
The angry girlfriend variant.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
That's dicey.
Okay. So the story on that is, and it's okay. So there are many different stories, but the story that comes directly from the man's name is Chance. I don't remember his last name, but the man's name is Chance. He said that this girl that he liked,
go back to the article,
was out of his league, but I guess apparently she was interested in comic books too. So he gave her this book to look at. Well, he kept hitting on her. Oh God, that's a beautiful book. Oh, I mean, I just like, here I'm getting all excited now. That's amazing number 14. That is the first appearance of the Green Goblin, who is far and away the most important enemy of Spider-Man ever, close to Doc Ock, Dr. Octopus. His first appearance, I don't know what that book. Do me a favor. Look up the value of a 9.8 Amazing Spider-Man number 14. We're going to see some amazing numbers here.
37, 40,000.
Yeah, so there you go. $40,000 for a freaking comic book, man.
That
I know
costs
that's less than what we were
12
talking about earlier,
cents.
but Wolverine's a bigger character.
Who sets this standard? Who sets this grading standard?
The public.
Who's the public?
The people that are purchasing. Okay, so the Overstreet Price Guide is basically who puts these numbers together. That's the standard go to is Overstreet. But anyway, going back to this guy, he loaned this comic book to this girl. Apparently, he did something to her. He kept hitting on her. She wasn't interested in a relationship. They were really good friends, but he did something to her that I guess bothered her. He kept hitting on her over and over and over. So she just destroys this book.
Right. On screen right now is the front, and then on the back.
And so since that book has been graded now, what you're not seeing is the manifesto that was written in between the pages. Every single page has writing on it.
Let's go back to the top here. Or where does it mention the this is the article about the girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So go to hell. The front reads the all capital letters foregrounded in a black box. A separate message urges the recipient to flip the comic over for further beratement. Quote, in no way am I, that's what I was trying to read earlier. It says, quote, in no way am I trying to be noble or anything like that, end quote. The message on the back cover reads, quote, I thought I'd be able to destroy something
I never
thought I'd be able to destroy something that meant so much to me.
Because she liked comic books
as far
too.
as I'm concerned, you're dead. And then that's what it reads on the back.
I don't think she liked him.
But no, now the funny part to this story is that, like, so she thought that she was, like, taking a shit on this dude, that she was like, yeah, eat shit, here you go. But the funny part is that she actually increased the value of the right?
And that kind of still, even to this day, remains to be seen. I don't know. So Jim Lee, who is a prominent comic book artist who helped start in the 90s a comic book company called Image. Image puts out, have you ever heard of Spawn?
No.
There's been an actual couple of movies made of Spawn, I think.
Maybe the film.
But Savage Dragon, there are several, well, there are actually more than several. There are a lot of books that this company made. But Jim Lee offered $50,000 for this book. The person that owned it and has owned it for 20 years is now saying that they want $100,000 for it.
So
now,
that brings up a funny. What were you going to say? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't think the sale has been made. I think that I think Jim Lee wants the book because it's just such a truly interesting story, and there's comic behind it. But so what this guy did later after she destroyed his book is, I think at some point in time, and I don't know how he did this, but while she was sleeping, he cut her hair. he screwed her hair up with scissors. So there's more to the story than just the comic book, but it really is super, super funny.
No, the only point
he's apologized. He feels bad about it. Now, this has been 20 years ago.
The only point I was going to make is that, like, this guy that you were saying, this hedge funder or whoever this guy is that made the offer to purchase that comic, right, for $50,000.
Yes, sir.
So the only thing that sparked in my mind is that human interest is the only point I wanted to make here, is that isn't it fucking weird how we can see an item as human interest and then just say, like, okay, well, my name is Brian, I'm willing to pay $25,000 for that, when on average most people are willing to pay $1,000 for it.
Which is actually
isn't that weird to think about?
What that's
isn't that weird to think
is.
about? I think the article said, go back to the article. I think it said it was averaging 3 to 9.7 was the value, $3,000 to $10,000.
Yeah, I was thinking it was right at $1,000 for a 1/8.
It's wild that some guy out there is just like, nope, $50K.
I will
that's
give
mine.
you $50,000 for that
$50K.
book because it is so cool.
And it's not, the transaction has not been finalized.
As far as I know, it hasn't been.
How recent is this from happening? When was this article written?
So that, well, I mean,
2019. Okay.
that took place in over 20 years ago. The girl wrote on the book over 20 years ago.
Oh shit! I missed that.
Same individual. So the story goes, the individual that owned that book would go to comic book shops, and this gentleman Chance, I believe, would have it showing at the top of. Yeah, you know, I may be wrong. All I know is that the same person owned it for 20 years. They paid $50 for it.
Damn.
So yeah, he when Jim Lee offered him $50,000, I'd be like, here you go.
Right, that's thousands of percent of profit.
But he's trying to get $100,000.
I don't need this comic book all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This
Fuck
is
my ex-girlfriend.
far less important to me now.
So, have you ever ran into in your journeys or in your travels? Have you ever ran into kind of taglining off of this? Have you ever ran into? I know a big thing with collectors is like uniqueness. So there's something about something like collectors' items that are perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we all strive for,
Right.
But if you get a 1965 dime that has a chip, like the chip, you know what I mean, like the deficiency that people are looking for, you know what I mean? Like it almost adds and makes it more rare that it has this strange deficiency.
Like a misprint.
An error.
Almost like a
Yes,
misprint.
an
Yeah,
error.
exactly. Have you ever seen in person anything like that?
Oh,
with the comic
absolutely.
book world or with the coin world?
Okay, so yes, I understand where you're going now.
That's one the deficiency that makes it more
so
rare.
So listen, I'm going to give a little plug to my buddy here. The
Please.
subscription.
Please.
If I didn't ask if that was okay or not, but
Is he local?
yes, my buddy Aaron runs the shop, the subscription. It's out on the east side. I want to put his name out there because he's just starting.
The subscription. Got it. On the east side.
He's got a book in his case right now that has the wrong cover on a book. Well, I guess that's all I need to say. It's just got the wrong cover.
A comic book. A comic book, right?
If I'm not yes, sir. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I'm talking about comic books.
Okay.
Because I thought that's what you asked.
Yeah. Well, just in general, collection in general.
Okay,
So
if we're talking about comic books. From my coins, I've got plenty of error coins. Yes, that people are crazy about errors.
just because it has a misprint or a deficiency,
wrong number in the wrong place, or you've got
or
a broken
Abraham
die.
Lincoln has a mustache now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes, sir.
why? You know?
So and that is always very sought after. But yeah, I've got Aaron has a book in his case right now, and he's got a price tag of like $200 on it, and there's really no way to price these things because they're such anomalies. But he's got, if I'm not mistaken, it's GI Combat cover, but it's a X-Men comic book, and it's actually made. It was actually made in who uses pincers, who Dell or who their monetary is a pence.
I don't even know how to spell that.
I'm showing I'm ignorance here. PENCE. Whose money uses a pence? Is that
Country,
Britain?
country, currency, whatever.
UK.
UK.
It's similar to a
So
pound.
yeah, this comic was printed in the UK, which is another entire genre of collecting. You know, people collect other countries' comic books, but yeah, there's a GI Combat cover on an X-Men comic book.
Does it vary?
wild.
Like how different is the UK story of a Marvel versus?
No, they're the exact same story.
Okay.
Exact same story.
They just use like different language. Like I'm going to
yeah,
wet
the
you up.
balloons. The balloons are written in different. Well, if it's a different language, if I'm not mistaken, the UK is the same as the.
Or is it you read like you read backwards there, or like is it you read from the back of the book to the front of the book?
You're talking about anime, and yeah, their books are backwards.
They read from the back and from right to
right.
left,
Yes.
and up and down. Not
Actually, I think they're still left to right, but they're from front to back.
front to back.
But I may be mistaken about that.
Maybe
I don't
Chinese
do anime.
read up and down. Chinese read up and down, but also right.
Or
to
they're on
left.
the other side of the world. You know?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what's going on over there. Fucking, they're angry and they're good at making fucking computer chips.
They make some killer raw fish, though.
Dude, I'm telling you, sushi and fucking computer chips. China's got it figured out, man.
And well, never mind. I'm not
Politics aside, fucking thanks, China. All right. So, anyways, yeah, that's interesting. No, but it's cool. I wonder what the most. Can you Google what the most expensive coin?
Oh, I can tell you.
Coin misprint or deficiency, coin deficiency or misprint.
Gosh, so
misprints, or I wonder what the most expensive one is and how rare is it.
Misprint. I couldn't tell you.
1822, 6 of the world's most valuable coins. 1933.
I don't have those, by the way.
1933 St. Gaudens gold double eagle, 18.9 million.
Is that not a beautiful coin? So that's a tiny number, by the way. You think that's a high number? It's a tiny number. So
that is silly. That is silly.
So I've got a coin that there's actually only 50,000 made of.
So that's another thing too, is like with comics, there's values on the number of print it is. Like if it's a first print or if it's like the 232nd of that issue, right?
I'm sorry, Tommy, say again.
So like if it's a first print versus like it's the 200th print of
reprints. Yeah, like is a
Okay.
reprint considerably
So
less
in
than
today's today, what they're doing with reprints, if you think about it, a first print comic book may have 300,000 copies. When they print it the second time, it may only have 50,000 copies.
Yeah.
Which book's more rare?
Well, the
Which
50,000.
book's more important? Because back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, your initial print was the most valuable one.
Right.
Even though the second print may have been
a quarter of the copies.
correct, a quarter of the print run. Now people are realizing, hey, there's a shitload less of this print run than there is the initial print run. This is actually the more expensive book. And what they're doing is they're putting different covers. Marvel is the king of this, but other companies have followed suit. They changed the covers on the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth print. And now
Like each time they change it.
Yes, sir. Instead of just printing one cover, now there are variant covers. It's absolute ingenious what they've done, because they have, for someone like myself who wants to complete a set, you can't have a complete set of something without having every variant cover. If they make 50 variant covers of number one, you've got to get them all.
Do you have all of one?
Oh, no, gosh, no. It's impossible. It's impossible.
What's the most, like, okay, of a print, what's one of the prints that has the most variants? I mean, are we talking like hundreds?
Yeah, that would be accurate, yes. And I couldn't actually answer that question.
Well, and there's different series. So like when I was into comics, we lived up the street from Book Broker, and I would go there, and they're like the series of
Book
comics.
Broker is awesome, by the way.
The series of comics I was into at the time was The Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
And like
The
Know the
Russians?
story well, my man.
no, it was like an alien virus or an alien species that would come down and infect the superheroes, and then it was like an alternative. So it was like Tony Stark, but it was like he was infected by an alien of.
Are the aliens Russians?
And you came along after Secret Wars, which many years after.
Which is-
but
yeah.
Secret Wars was where the black costume came from for Spider-Man.
And they're actually doing a mini series on the Secret Invasion that
They're doing a
mainly
second.
yeah.
Damn.
But like it's wild. Or like The Dark Knight, like that series was like when the Joker killed the first Robin, Batman actually started killing people. And
Hell
like,
yeah.
Yeah, so like it was
Hell
like a
yeah.
whole separate
Batman
series.
turned really, really dark in the 90s.
Dude, his parents died in a car accident, and he was raised by a butler and a handful of bats.
not a car accident. I think they were shot.
Yeah,
weren't
they were
in an alley?
mugged and
Whatever. He
killed.
was raised.
See, I'm not a DC guy, so I can't
He
be
was raised by a butler and a handful of bats.
Alfred. Yeah,
Which is like it's
You would
crazy
be
to think
fucking
about.
Crazy too.
Like if you think about like the start of it, like Marvel's like they actually have powers and stuff, and then like DC, you get into like Batman, he's like, oh, he's just rich with like cool supplies,
Yeah.
and then like Robin's parents were just acrobatics, so like he was an acrobatic.
Dude, you know more than what I thought you knew.
And then he turned into Nightwing, which is like dope.
Oh man, you're really getting deep now.
What are some of the?
I'm proud of you, bud.
What are some of the other like banger DC heads? You know what I mean? Like the big DC names. Like obviously you got Batman. Obviously you got Robin.
Well, Robin turns the
Catwoman.
very first Robin turns into Nightwing,
Yeah,
and then Batman gets a new Robin.
that's fucking stupid. Jesus Christ! I see
They
why
actually,
more people
back,
stayed with
back
Marvel.
in the late 90s, I think it was, maybe the mid 90s or late 90s.
fucking
They actually took a
stupid.
poll regarding Robin for Batman's sidekick, whether they should kill him or not.
Yeah, kill him.
And
Kill
that's
him.
exactly what
100%.
happened. They wanted him dead.
They were like,
So-
"Fuck this acrobat."
So back
fucking
in the
pussy.
90s, the comic branched off into killing Jason Todd, which was Robin at the time.
yeah,
Now, so when they put that to a vote, they had 2 stories written. Just this year, they've released that second
the
story
alternate story.
that would have run if the vote had gone. Keep him alive.
They took a branch off Endgame.
So yeah, right. I don't know. It's just there's so many cool things about comic books, dude, that are just fun to follow.
What do you think? And that's a fun thought to have. Is like, what do you think is your now in your 50s? Do you think is your favorite thing about comic book or coin collection? Is it the hunt? Is it the possession? Is it the reminiscing? Is it the
I think it all-
melancholy? What
I
is
think it all comes down. Well, now that I'm in my mid 50s and I'm actually starting to get older, the reminiscing is very, very important to me. You can't. I mean, I'm trying to relive my youth. Really, is what it boils down to.
Do you pull out that first comic book that you ever got and instantly go back to when you were in 6th grade?
Immediately.
You're fucking
You guys are
15
gonna
years
get me
old
crying here. Don't do this shit to me. Yeah, it's very, very. Yeah, I can't tell you how. I don't know why it's so important to me. I really don't. It's stupid. I mean, but when I pull out my Juggernaut book and I see it every once in a while, I'll come across it. I'll always buy it because, for one, it's a $5 book. It's not very expensive, but it affects me. It takes me right back to when I was that age, and I guess that's really what collecting does to people. That's what it all.
I mean, that's
boils
why
down
I
to.
started rebuying the Pokemon games. You know, it takes me right back to
Yeah,
like.
you've been after me to look out for DS.
Well,
games
and that's
and
another
stuff.
thing I want to mention too is like these collectors. Like you have to go to that shop every week because there's something new that's
Turned up.
resold
Single
there,
week, yes.
and you're gonna miss out on it if you don't show up and check in once a week or
That
even
is
by the
big,
day.
man. You nailed it. I mean, fear of missing out. FOMO. It's a word. FOMO.
Mhm.
Fear of missing out, and that's what you run into with now comic book collectors.
Think about, isn't this a crazy thought? Like, there are so many people in Evansville, Indiana right now that are going to die tomorrow. Like, there's going to be a handful.
Wow, we're getting deep.
Well, and, like, hear me out. There's a point to this. Tomorrow, a handful of people are going to die in Evansville, Indiana. It might be 2, might be a dozen, it might be a few, whatever. But they're going to pass away. And then when they pass away, what do they have in their possession? A multitude of items that are going to be handed out to and divvied up and distributed across their family members. So they go diving through these tubs in their basements and their attics and their bedrooms and their closets, and then they find these things that are like fucking Spider-Man. And then where can I take this? Book broker. Okay, what do you give me? Fucking 50 cents? Cool. And then this dude just grabbed a $20,000.
Exactly.
You know
that's
what I
like
mean?
another thing.
My kids know what my comic books are valued at.
Oh, well,
I
that's what-
make sure of that.
I was gonna say, do you think that you'll get rid of your collection before you get to that point, or do you think?
Before
It
he
is-
dies? Can we not
Well,
talk
I'm sure
about
there's gonna be certain comics that
Jesus.
you
It
hold
is-
on
I
to
tell
till
you.
the end of your life.
No,
Do you think you'll get rid of him before you die, dude?
Nice,
Fucking
nice.
right. Fucking, you talking about me being dark? This guy
So-
just took it a totally different direction.
Yeah, but I understand exactly what he means.
Yeah. No, I get it. Good
my
question.
children are very aware of my comic book collection, and I don't put any weight on them. If they want it, it's theirs. If not, I've got nephews in California that will gladly take them.
In Cali,
I
they'll
want
probably,
someone to have these books that are going to appreciate them.
in Cali, they probably shank somebody for wanting a collection like you have.
I've got a sister in Cali that does some awesome stuff
Very aware.
on TikTok, but no, it's my kids are very aware of what I have.
Well, and another good point is like, so like in this process of getting comics over the years, and you, like you said, you got a room that's temperature controlled, you got your basement sealed, you know,
Humidity
like,
control.
well, like I used to have a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon cards in my grandparents' basement, and it flooded. And
Right.
like seeing these, like I just sent you a picture the other day of like a Yu-Gi-Oh card that I had like 4 of that's worth $800
Yeah.
now,
Right.
and they're all gone because of water damage. So it's like keeping these.
I've got some of your cards somewhere, buddy, because I didn't collect them, and neither of them did the girls. I've got a comic book lid full of cards that are just scattered. I can't find them, and it's so embarrassing because, I mean, literally, my basement is so full of crap, but they're somewhere in that house, bud.
I just want to go on the record to state that Pokemon will always be better than Yu-Gi-Oh.
I don't know. Not card wise. Game wise, yes.
By
but
the
not card
masses,
wise.
by the masses, it has been accepted.
I mean, to a degree. Have you ever seen a 10 out of 10 grade in a comic? Do they exist?
Very rare. Very rare indeed.
Millions of dollars.
Is that somebody
rare.
like you that
I brought
buys
a bunch
them?
of books tonight that I was going to bring up and show, but I didn't bring them in. But 9.8 is the typical highest grade. Very seldom you'll get a 10.
Have you seen one in person?
I have, yes.
Did you get to touch it?
Sure.
out of the wrapper?
No, because once they seal them, because when they seal these books, they are vacuum sealed, and there's no getting into them. That's another whole conversation about so I've got
integrity of the book, right? No, I understand, but you physically got to hold the book and flip it front, see the front, see the back.
no, well, only in the holder, because once they seal them in a holder, you can't take them back out. If you take them, if you have a 10.0 graded comic book, you'd be an idiot to take it out of the holder.
Yeah, you'd probably lose like half a point. Just
Well,
for
I
taking
mean,
it out.
possibly, yes. But see, part of what I do is try to find books that are undergraded, or I'm sorry, no, that's correct, undergraded, so that I can pop them out of these containers, press them, clean them, resend them, and get them regraded at a higher grade. Sometimes a 5.0 book graded one grade higher. This certainly is true with coins. You can make $1,000 overnight.
Ooh.
Just on one grade.
I gotta start collecting coins.
I wonder what goes into grades. Like, I mean, I
Well,
know
the
there's a
public.
scale.
Coin grading, there are books with 1,000 pages in coin grading. Coin grading is very, very detailed. Comic book grading is detailed, but nothing near that extreme.
And that makes sense because the coin is like federally regulated and like
Well, it's got nothing to do with the federal, but
they have like dimensions and stuff that are like fit to
Or like
a
where
metal.
the coin was minted.
Yeah.
I'm sure that may make a value.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you seen how some of these people like plagiarize or like
Fabricate or
yeah, like so they'll take a $1 bill. So like money is only printed on a specific paper that the federal government can have or produce. So you can't really remint that dollar bill. But people back in the day were like taking white erase, like the magic eraser markers, and they were like magic erasing parts, and then they were reprinting on top of it, and that's why they have like the
printers
lights.
have gotten so technologically advanced that you can actually reprint the fibers that are in money papers. There are actually threads in paper money that can only get in there if it was made that way.
Well, they have a special, and I don't know what it is, what the composition is, but there's metallic strips woven into these fabrics of paper now.
Right.
And it might be a special metal. I don't know, but I know that it is very hard to make like a 2024 reprint of a Benjamin.
Yeah, I've always understood. I never have understood that. If you're going to make fake money, what counterfeit? if you're going to counterfeit money,
that fake money,
why would you counterfeit the newest bills? You know, to me, it's like, I'm going to counterfeit an old $20 bill. Everybody still knows what an old $20 bill looks like. You can still spend it.
They're so far out of circulation. I bet they're slowly working their way out.
Well, yes. And from what I understand, when banks get older currency in, they're supposed to turn it into the U.S. Mint.
And burn it out.
Right. And so that only the newest stuff. So, again, I just took out $200 out of my ATM today. I go through every single bill. If there's an old bill in there, it goes right into my collection.
Really?
Absolutely.
And honestly, that's another fun thought. And that's where I thought you were going like way earlier in the conversation, like when we first started about coins. I thought you were going to make a mention about like digital currency. Like how much longer are we even going to have a tangible currency around? You know what I mean?
Good
like
question.
How much longer is the dollar bill even going to tangibly, physically, tactilely exist?
Or a penny, for that matter. You know, we don't need pennies anymore.
No, everything is nothing costs a penny anymore.
It's not going to be that much longer before pennies are allowed to be melted down.
Well, and it's another crazy thing to think about. So, like, I'm a big Apple fanatic. We all know this, but like Apple now has in certain states, you can get your driver's license on your phone. If you live in like one of 4 states are accepting it now.
Kentucky.
And then, but like also Apple Pay, like I don't carry a wallet anymore. My driver's license stays in my car.
You paid me with Apple Pay a couple of times. I think I've got like $25 in Apple Pay floating on my phone. I'll probably never use.
But I never carry a wallet. Half these businesses, if I can't scan it with my phone, like to pay, I don't. Walmart that they have Walmart Pay, so you can do it through their app.
Okay,
and
so
it's
I didn't
just
know
like
that.
Apple
I tried
Pay.
to use my double click the other day. I'm trying to figure out some way to spend this $25 you gave me.
You can transfer it to your bank. I'll show you after the episode.
Okay. No, but it's a fun thought that like at some point, let's say that I had a child, which I wouldn't because that's gross.
Oh, dude.
No, I don't have children, and I don't
major dude.
I don't plan.
No, but just one second. 1 second. Children are amazing.
Well, it's just like Andrew Schultz just had a baby, and The Rock commented, "Life starts now."
The Peanuts guy.
Andrew Schultz, he's a stand-up comedian.
He's a comedian.
Oh, I thought he was the guy.
He's got like a real Adolf-y haircut, real pro-German haircut, but like. You know, The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Very Aryan haircut.
Sorry.
But like The Rock commented on it. Life starts now. Yeah, life starts now. And like I didn't realize that. Exactly.
Let me make my point. My point is that let's say that I had a child, or let's say Tom has, a child today.
Be the best thing that ever happened.
I get it. But let's say it happens. Let's say then that child has a child. Is that child's child even gonna have it blows my mind when I think about the future, because like already the currency is gone. Like you don't use it. Almost never do you ever, unless you're buying something off Facebook Marketplace, meeting the person face to face. And even then still you can be like, hey, do you have fucking Venmo? Hey, do you have fucking app? Do you have Apple Pay? You know what I mean?
It's been changing for years.
Shout out to Homeboy.
Every 100 years we change currency.
I know, but I'm just wondering, like, and then when it is the day that comes that it is no longer, all right, tangible currency is just not accepted now. You have to pay digitally. What's your coin worth now? Well,
the ones that I collect are silver and gold, so they're going to be worth value in precious metal.
Hey,
because I only collect precious metal or errors that have interest. I'm not going to pick up a regular penny. Nobody gives a shit about a regular penny.
Unless it's heads up, that's good luck.
This is a good point, though. Do you think at a certain point, so like your generation values it at a more higher level, but like what happens when B's kid, like Braden, his generation doesn't value the coins at the same level? Do you think there's a point where collectibles start to go downhill versus uphill? Or is there certain people like your kids that were raised to know the value of it?
I don't think it makes a difference. When you talk about precious metals, and which is what I'm collecting, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to be able to melt these coins down. They're still going to be silver.
Metal's going to be metal. Copper's going to be copper.
Or like they're going to put out movies that are going to make kids want the comics of like where that origin came from.
What makes a comic book valuable is where that character lands in the social structure of America. I mean, everybody knows who Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are. Dude, there were mice. There were turtles weren't the only ones that came. I know this is silly, but you know who TMNT is,
Right. Yeah.
There were mice, there were hamsters, there were a whole group of animals that were made.
They
in
had
these
Teenage Mutant Ninja Hamsters.
They were not teenage.
No,
Mutant
but
Ninja Hamsters. They
Splinter,
were
the rat that trained them.
radioactive. Jeez, I'm too drunk to even remember.
No, you're okay. No,
but there are other animals but
that they made
only the
comics off of.
popular, only the ones that made mainstream, that got mainstream attention, are the ones that were. Is that what you're asking? Am I totally missing?
Well,
the
no.
question?
That's what I'm asking. But I'm like, is there a certain point to where like the comics aren't gonna hold value anymore that you think? So like Spider-Man comics, like your generation, like everybody you meet in their 50s was a Spider-Man fanatic, right? But then like
Even older.
like my son's children, like, are they gonna value the comics the same as?
So I think there's a 20-year window. And I've seen this, I'm going on mid-50s, going on 60s now. There is a 20-year window where things seem to come back around. 20 years from now, Spider-Man will be making a new
the Spider-Verse. They're already doing it.
explosion into whatever entertainment industry we are using at the time.
Yeah, whatever media. I
Yes.
get what you're saying. Whatever media we're
It will
absorbing.
come back.
Yeah.
I think. Maybe not. And if that's the case, then yeah, some of this old stuff will start to fall
think that
off.
I think that holds water because there's a great writer, and you might be able to Google who said it, or I can only paraphrase it. But essentially, all great stories have already been written. All the greatest stories of all time have already been written.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Do you really?
Yes.
I disagree with it.
Conceptually, all the greatest stories of all times have been written. This is a famous.
That's like saying though
it
that
might not be a quote, but it's a thought. It's a sociological concept. But
Yeah, I understand
But
that.
essentially, you're never gonna write a comic book that is ever, or a story for children that is gonna rival.
Well, you know what's
Batman.
crazy about some of these writers is so like the guy that wrote The Great Gatsby, he actually went and like so in order to write in that aspect, like he
Yeah.
went and rewrote like he typed out like the Book of Revelation like 6 times in a row and then wrote The Great Gatsby.
Why did he
and
do
like
that?
he used that as like a just like trying to write in older times. So like if you were trying to like write similar to Mark Twain but not Mark Twain, you would write like he would type the whole book of Mark Twain like 3-4 times and then write his
Get in
own
that
book.
mindset?
Exactly, to like use that
a lot
similar...
less inwards in The Great Gatsby than there is Mark
Right,
Twain.
right, yeah.
If you guys are picking up, what
But that's like a thing writers are doing now is like they're typing out the exact word for word what the person wrote, and then they're going and writing their own book. But since they've typed that so many times, their brain's wired to use that similar structure.
It's not to
or-
say that the greatest stories have already been written. I'm just saying that conceptually, the guy gets the power, then the guy saves the girl. This story, and then however
Which
you,
is like you were saying with Spider-Man and the Blue Beetle.
it's just it's done. It's written in stone. It happened, and now. Until
that-
we evolve into a new fucking dimension or species, or
But that's coming. We know it's coming. I
Yeah,
think
in
that does
a-
a great. I
in
think
a
that does a
1,000
disservice
years.
to the future.
no, it's not. I don't think so. In our time, the greatest stories have been written. In our time, in our children's time, in our children's time,
I think my children have the capability to write the newest, greatest story that's ever been written.
that could be true.
Well, and AI is going to write it for him.
I wanted to make a point
There
on.
you go.
I
Yeah.
wanted to make a point on coins too. What I think, let's say Braden gets into collecting coins when he's in his 20s or late teens or whatever. Maybe he gets into it for, like you said, the precious metals, the value of the metal itself. Maybe he finds that the worth to collect these whatever coins pre-62 or whatever arbitrary date. Or maybe there are, what I think will drive coin collection and similar collections of things like that will be fans of history, historians,
Yes, absolutely.
people that are just genuinely interested in a time that was before theirs.
Which is crazy because I just finished that movie, The Monument Men, where
Oh, you were talking about that.
right where we were
not seen
bombing Europe at a glorious rate, and they were like, "Yo, like we're hitting buildings that like historical pieces of art are in, and we have
Yeah.
to send people in to save these pieces of history." Like we almost bombed the building that the statue of David was in.
Yeah.
and like going in and saving it, or like secret groups were going because Hitler was building he wanted to build a museum full of history that was just like an Aryan museum, and he was collecting art from all of Europe.
It was all of history that only pertained to Catholicism.
But like, it's crazy to think, but yeah, like history will hold its value because of
I think
the
so.
story behind it.
On top of the value of the metal itself, and then the knowledge of that, and then also the folks that just genuinely care about history are always going to collect.
And somebody's always going to care about history.
I think what we might be leaving out here too is the possibility or the possible value of future metals that we're using today that
Are
titanium.
limited.
yeah, magnesiums. I mean, there are plentiful. 100 years from now, right now we're making pennies and nickels and dimes out of zinc and magnesium and what's the other one? Nickel.
Mm-hmm.
These metals are going to become valuable as we use them up.
Or cobalt. There's only so much cobalt.
Platinum, palladium. They're already close to gold value.
Platinum's worth more than gold.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've not checked it in a while because it kind of bounces
Apparently,
around.
we just have a fuckload of lithium too in Australia.
Well, lithium's limited. It's a limited resource.
yeah, but
is it?
apparently we got a fuckload of it currently.
But just like there's certain metals that you can only get from space that are crashing into Earth.
That's a completely another story.
I know,
that's
dude.
off the future, dude. We're never going to stop. I
No.
mean, until God just puts his hand down and says, "Hey, you know what? I've had enough."
Dude, I had a dream the other day.
Oh boy,
that
we go.
so like
we don't need. Hey, if it's anything sexual, we don't want to hear it.
no wet dreams. But like, so it was like the rapture happened, but not people disappeared, but all handheld electronics disappeared.
Oh, that's tough.
No cell phones,
there's
no
been movies
Apple
made about
Watches,
that, though,
no. So it was like
What was the
landlines and like physical computers existed,
Yeah.
but everybody's cell phones and Apple
Dude, I think
devices
it
and
would
all that
do
were
us a
gone.
tremendous good to go back to those days.
It'd be like
for
the 1980s.
a year,
But at the same point in time, like I was thinking,
the
like,
80s.
well,
I would suck
The
it.
80s.
I would
The
suck.
80s were normal to me, dude.
I would suck it to go back 10 years and be 23 years old, and then go back another 20 years and be in the 80s.
Well,
you know
I'm
what I
telling you,
mean?
If you suck mine, it'll work. It'll happen.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude! If you promise, I'll do it. I swear, dude.
So
I'm
was
not
there-
above it.
I promise.
was there ever a moment on this collector's journey where you wanted to throw in the towel and like get rid of your coins, get rid of your comics, and like what pulled
Call
you
it
through that
quits.
moment?
So I didn't. I've never. Okay, so if you've ever known anything about me, you'll know that I've never given up on anything. Nothing.
Not a quitter.
I am not a quitter.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I'm still married because I'm not a quitter. I screwed up royally. My wife is a saint, but I've never been a quitter. So what did change my collecting habits was having children, and
Prioritization.
now that money needs to go somewhere else. And man, and I at that time I actually sold a lot of stuff as well. So I got rid of a lot of my collection, and like I said earlier in the broadcast, or maybe I didn't. I don't think we ever actually touched on this. I was collecting coins again heavily while my daughter was playing volleyball, and she was on a travel team. Every time we'd go to St. Louis, Louisville, I mean, no matter where we went, Joy and I would go searching the coin shops, and this guy just happened to have a white comic book box. I knew exactly what it was when I saw it back behind the counter. I said, dude, what have you got in the box back there? Oh, a kid brought in a bunch of comic books he wanted to trade for coins. I'm like, well, you care if I look at it? And it was a couple of Dr. Octopus Amazing Spider-Man books that were in that box. Sweet, 8.5, 9 grades. And that's what started the whole ball rolling again.
Oh,
So,
damn.
I mean, it just started all over again. And, now I'm back to, I got $300 worth of comic books in the trunk. So, I mean, it's almost like playing the lottery. Of course, it's an educational, I really do a lot of research on what's coming out and the new stories. And I only buy the stuff that I think are going to be cool. If I hit on 20% of it, I'm on easy street.
You got any advice for people that want to get into collecting?
Do what you love. That's it. Because in the long run, it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Do what you love. It's just like It's just like somebody telling you what you want to do for a living. Dude, just do something that makes you happy. And that's all that matters. Just do something that makes you happy.
Unless it's hurting other people, don't do that.
You're right.
Yeah.
And maybe get into, physical sports at that point.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's probably what
Wrestling, football.
That's probably what
I missed
martial
those
arts-
days, by the way.
That's what Mr. Dahmer should have done. You know what I mean?
He did what he liked, didn't he?
Maybe go out for the volleyball team, you fucking creep. No, man.
Spike.
I think that's a good piece of wisdom. A lot of time when we ask that question, we get a lot of like, "Well, just go do it." But I think that, I mean, that's just kind of like innate. You know what I mean? It's given. Like if you want to go do something, you know that you just have to go do it. Like you just have to go suck at something for a while. But like what I think your piece of advice is more important in that it's find what you love first,
Right.
and then go do whatever it is you want to do that harnesses that love. I think that's a good it's a good word of wisdom. You only get to live once, man. I think the kids are still saying YOLO.
I think so.
Yeah.
You know?
And then last couple minutes is all you. So shout outs to, who got you to where you're at and who's keeping you going.
Dates
and then
coming up for like
also-
conventions or whatever.
Well, there is a convention coming up in March. I don't recall where it is. I think it's right here at Washington Square Mall. But a buddy of mine I went to school with, Matt Halls, great comic book guy. Aaron out here at the Subscription, Jim at Book Broker, and I'm sorry, Tom at Book Broker, and Jim at Comic Quest. They're all really good dudes.
And you've been a fan of Comic Quest since I was little.
Yeah. I mean, Comic Quest. I started going to Comic Quest when they were over by U of E, and then they moved to I moved to their West Side location. And then he's now moved out to, gosh, I don't even know what you consider it, out by the airport. It's a little bit longer drive, but
It's like a different town.
Yeah,
McCutcheonville. Yeah.
but
McCutcheonville.
he's a great dude. There's animosity, I guess, between some of the guys, but for the most part, they keep it together, and they'll take care of you.
Hell yeah, man. Well, check those folks out. And then, your socials. Do you put anything on social media?
Not yet, but we're trying to get him to start his own show.
Well, we're going to talk you into it. So,
I need some prodding.
TPD,
I don't know what that means.
TBD, yeah,
to
you
be
get it.
determined.
Paper, what is that?
To P determined. No, TBD on that. We're gonna get you hooked up, dude. We're gonna talk about it some more. But yeah, man. All the links from the episode will be in the description, as well as some of the folks that we talked about today. So check those out. And then Mr. Shell, I can't thank you enough, man. You could have done anything for the last 2 hours, but we nerded the fuck out. We really got into it together, and we just
I had a good time, guys.
We
Thank you.
tugged on each other's jock straps. We fucking drank some scotch. We drank some fucking
damn
bourbon.
good scotch.
So just thank you very much. I really appreciate your
No
time,
problem. I
sir.
certainly appreciate you inviting me.
no,
Tommy's
100%.
been trying to get me to come for a while.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he's trash. But this
Hey,
has been
this is a good dude. He's a good dude.
this has been another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Grimm, and this has been Brandon Shaw.
Thank you so much, Mr. Show.